Five creepy abandoned places. Number 5. Six Flags New Orleans. The New Orleans amusement park Jazzland opened in 2000, and the lease was purchased by Six Flags in 2002. The park was upgraded a year later and renamed Six Flags New Orleans, with a Mardi Gras-themed area and a respectable collection of rides and coasters. In 2005, a storm struck the area, a big one. You may have heard about it. Long story short, the wreck of this once merry place has sat deserted for many, many years since Katrina struck. It is now owned by the city with tentative plans to put a mall in its place, but if you are willing to risk an arrest for trespassing, it can serve as a hell of a creepy urban exploration outing. Just ask the guys who took these pictures. Number 4. Danvers State Insane Asylum. Danvers State Hospital in Massachusetts is old enough to have been variously known as the State Lunatic Hospital, Danvers Lunatic Asylum, and other such lovely monikers. In its most crowded period during the 1920s and 30s, there were controversies over its rumored use of shock therapy, drugs and frontal lobotomies. In fact, it may have been the birthplace of that procedure. Since its closure in 1992, it has fallen into a state of severe creepiness. And yes, disrepair. It was the setting for the excellent 2001 horror film Session 9, and did a lot of the heavy lifting in generating a truly dreadful atmosphere. While there have been efforts to renovate the area, the spirits have not been kind to those efforts. In 2006, some structures were demolished and apartment buildings put in their place. In April 2007, all of those buildings and several construction trailers went up in flames. Any efforts at renovation since then have largely stalled. Number 3. The Domes. Most locals don't know who built these giant, concrete, saucer-shaped domes out in the middle of the Arizona desert, or why. While the truth is pretty mundane, visitors to the site are known to come down with a case of the willies in about 4 seconds. The extreme neglect, oddness of the architecture and, they say, the vibe of the place as the sun goes down combine to give one a healthy sense of unease. While these may look like 50s era flying saucer replicas, they were in fact built in 1982 by an electronics company. Their weird design was supposed to assist with insulation and be cheap to construct. The company failed in 1983, and contaminated groundwater was found at the site shortly thereafter, with cleanup not exactly a priority for the now bank-owned properties. New owners acquired the site in 2006, and there it still sits spooky, deserted and forever, raising the question who paid money for these? Number 2. Holy Land USA. Holy Land USA was once an 18-acre theme park in Waterbury, Connecticut, that at its peak in the 1960s and 70s saw upwards of 40,000 visitors per year. It was closed for renovation in 1984. Its owner, John Greco, died in 1986, and nobody has been sure what to do with it since. The property has been watched over by a group of nuns in the intervening decades, while it deteriorates more and more, and just gets more and more disturbing. As if the crumbling statues, dark and still structures and obvious vandalism don't get you, let's get the hell out of here, meter in the red. There's also the fact that a teenager was murdered on these deserted grounds in 2010. While police reports have shown instances of trespassing dropping, that really just means there are fewer people around, making the place even more isolated and terrifying. Number 1. Road from the village of Oradour-sur-Glane, France, there lies the original village of Oradour-sur-Glane, or what's left of it. On June 10, 1944, the village had the extreme bad fortune of being confused with nearby Oradour-sur-Varese by a Nazi panzer unit, which erroneously believed that a Waffen-SS officer was being held by the villagers there. The Nazis massacred 642 men, women and children with incendiary devices and machine gun fire before the mistake was cleared up, which was pretty much the entire population of the town and a few guys who happened to be passing through when the Germans came. French President Charles de Gaulle ordered the town rebuilt, and but he also ordered that the ruins of the old town should stay as a reminder, and they did. A plaque roughly translating to, "so as not to forget," is the only modern addition to this town, which we honestly don't think we ever want to come within 100 miles of.